go. Pro markers from Winsor Newton. Cool. Rich tones. What else? Skin tones. Pro marker manga chibis. Not sure what those are. Pro marker brush. Brush markers. Watercolor markers. Oh, you want those? What else here? Special watercolor paper to go with the watercolor markers. That makes sense. Are special fine liners, different sizes and different colors. All right, so lots of cool stuff. And thank you, Winsor & Newton. Twiggy loves a good marker. Who doesn't, after all? Love markers? So, markers are wonderful and mystifying to some extent. They're things that we kind of take for granted that we know about, but maybe we don't. Maybe nobody ever took marker class in art school. I certainly didn't. But tonight at, 5 p.m. Pacific? We're going to learn all about markers because we're having a special Q&A live about markers, and you're invited. It's free. Zero dineros involved. It's an online webinar-ish thing. It's going to last, I think, over an hour, 90 minutes probably. And we're going to answer all kinds of questions. Well, I'm not going to answer very many of them. I'm going to ask them. But we have a couple of amazing experts who are going to be answering all of our questions. And you can be there too with your questions, and they'll answer them too. So go to bit.ly/SBS Markers and sign up if you haven't already. Come on by. Yes, we'll be recording it. Yes, you could probably watch the recording, but if you do, you won't have a chance to ask any questions. So come to it live if you want to, and we will learn all about markers. I'm going to be using markers today. I've got scads of them. This is Draw With Me, by the way. I'm Danny Gregory, and I'm excited about all these things I've just told you and many more things I have to tell you about. So we're going to learn about markers, about alcohol markers, about watercolor markers, about why they bleed through paper when they do and how to avoid that. We're going to learn about blending them. We're going to learn about mixing colors, all kinds of things. It's going to be extraordinary. Not just ordinary, but extraordinary. So, yes, there are all kinds of things. Yes, there were watercolor markers. There's all kinds of stuff in there, and we're going to learn all about it. So, what else did I want to tell you about? Let me get rid of this. So, today is an exciting day. It is the 250th birthday of Ludwig van Beethoven. Ludwig van, for those of you who are Clockwork Orange fans, or Schroeder, if you're a Schroeder fan from Peanuts. Lots of reasons to love Beethoven, and today is an extra special day because it's his birthday, 250 years old, and still deaf. Still deaf. It's time to get a hearing aid, Lud. Anyway, we're going to be drawing him later on. I have a really cool kind of thing we're going to be drawing from. I'll show you that. So you get your markers out, or whatever else you have. Get your pencils, your pens, your sharpened sticks, whatever it is you want to work with today. You could... I don't know what I was going to say. It doesn't really matter. But we're going to have fun drawing Ludwig van. I wanted to tell you about a project that I'm involved with. It's a thing I've been working with Natalie Kalbach. You may remember Natalie. She taught in our mixed media class and at Sketchbook School, and she also taught a workshop on the color wheel, which was pretty amazing. So she's put together this thing, which is pretty fun, and she asked me to be part of it, me and lots of other people. But I just want to show you what it is that she's talking about, that she's going to be doing, and you can judge.
Hey, Sketchbook School friends, I'm Natalie Kalbach, and I'm super excited to be here today. Some of you might know me from the SBS Mixed Media Journaling class a while ago. Today I would love to tell you about an annual event that I run now for the 10th year in 2021. It's called Creative Jumpstart, and it runs from New Year's Day to Valentine's Day, and we share daily a 10-minute tutorial. So the event runs 45 days with 45 videos and 45 artists. I'm so excited that we have Danny Gregory as well as some other SBS teachers like Seth Apter and Jane LaFazio and Mary Beth Shaw with us for Creative Jumpstart 2021. The theme for 2021 is storytelling. And this is very, very dear to my heart because I think it's the connective tissue that brings us all together. And after all, artists are all storytellers. They just use different creative materials and techniques to do so. During the event, you will daily learn something new and get creatively jump-started to form a new creative habit for the rest of the year. So I can tell you that Danny's video is delightful, and it is about telling the everyday story. But we also have artists that are using painting, fabric art, art journaling, handmade books, illustrations, and so much more. I hope you will join us for Creative Jumpstart 2021. And you can sign up now with a really nice early bird price of $69 for 45 downloadable videos at nataliestudio.com/CGS. All of you, I wish you happy arting and a wonderful creative holiday season, as well as a healthy and very amazing Happy New Year 2021. Bye.
All right, that was fun. So that is Natalie's thing. Oh man, here's another thing I have to tell you about, which is if you haven't yet, so Natalie's thing is Creative Jumpstart, and it's lots and lots of different. Let me get rid of this. Why are you troubling me right now? It's lots of different artists teaching lots of different techniques, all around this theme of storytelling. And you get lots of different videos. There's interviews. It's pretty cool. It's pretty fun, and she does it every year. And this is I think the biggest one yet. So it'll be pretty fun. All right. So now let me put it back. Bitly. So by the way, if you have a problem with Bitly, it's https://. Okay. For some reason, the S sometimes makes a difference. I don't really know why. But anyway, if you go to bit.ly/Danny's Essays, you can sign up for my free weekly essay. I wrote a humdinger for tomorrow. I send them out every Friday. They're fun. They're free. They're challenging. They'll make you laugh. They'll make you cry. They'll make you whistle Beethoven piano sonatas. But they are there for you if you'd like some more of me. What else? Oh, you can text me. I can text you back. Text me at this number if you're in the United States or in Canada. If you're not, well, there are probably lots of other wonderful things about your life, but this won't be one of them. But you can, if you join this texting thing, I text several times a week. I text bits of inspiration that I find. I text drawings that I've done. I text dad jokes that I think are hilarious. And I'll also send you a reminder about each week's Draw With Me. All of you who got my texts were reminded this morning to come and join me. And that's probably why you're here. So sign up, 919-298-81117. And I will text you. Okay, sorry about that. So, yes, this is a Beethoven loop. Sorry. I was talking, but you weren't hearing me. So now you can. Okay, cool. That's a good point, CW. He was deaf. Maybe that's why there's no audio. Okay, so hopefully you can hear me now. Yes, so when Beethoven was alive, they made a mask, what's called a life mask, where they put plaster on his face and they made a replica of his face. And this artist, whose name is Hadi Karimi, is an Iranian artist, digital sculptor, and he took that life mask and he also took other paintings and things that were done simultaneously when Beethoven was alive, and he made this incredible sculpture, three-dimensional sculpture. So, if you would like to see more of his work, you can see it at on Instagram at hadikarimi.art, and it's sort of kind of creepy, but also pretty cool and good for us, right? Good for us because we need to know what he looked like. So, all right, here I am, a three-dimensional sculpture of Danny Gregory, lifelike, revolving. And we're going to use. I'm going to show you a still from that. So anyway, this Beethoven. I mean, if you don't want to draw from that, if you want to draw from like one of the other things about Beethoven, there are a few paintings and stuff like that that were done with him when he was alive. But this one just felt sort of like we weren't going to be borrowing another artist's interpretation, but we were going to get as close as we can to actually drawing him in real life. So that's what we're going to be doing. And, it's up to us what kind of media we want to use. I would play Beethoven music during this, but unfortunately, when you do that on YouTube, unless I was going to take piano lessons, learn to play Beethoven, and record them myself, I'd end up with like copyright violations. So we will be playing music during the after party, the Draw With Me after party that happens on Spark, and I will play a few variations. Well, I'll be playing the recordings. I won't actually be playing any variations myself, but we'll be doing that. Okay, so so we have that picture, and now let's go and look at that. Here it is. There he is. So this is one of the frames that Hadi Karimi created from his video. He also does. He's done ones of Chopin and various other people. He's also done some of existing people. He did one of Whitney Houston that's pretty amazing. So yeah, so he's pretty interesting. Beethoven's Fifth. Okay. So I've got my markers. I've got all kinds here. I've got this sort of range of flesh tones, which I'll probably be using because I'm going to be drawing as flesh. And then I've also got, these are pigment markers that are also made by Winsor Newton, and they're pretty nice bright colors. I like these a lot. I just found out they stopped making them. They just discontinued these pigment markers. So let's get them out of the way because I don't want you falling in love with them and saying, how do I get those? What did you tantalize me for? But these Pro Marker brushes and Pro Markers are nice, and I like them. So they're pretty good. I'm also I like these a lot now. I hadn't used these before, but these are their fine liners. And they come in different colors. There's blues, browns, and grays, and then blacks. But I think it's my current favorite thing to draw with. It's pretty cool. I had to put a mark on this one because what I found is that they only have this little tiny thing here that tells you what the number is. And it's too small. So I marked the 08 because that's the one I'll be drawing with today. And then some markers. So, all right, you colored guys, get off. And I'm going to take the 0.8. And let's hit it. Let's start drawing. Okay. Oh, Christine. Christine comes through with a dad joke. What did the conductor name his twin daughters? Anna 1, Anna 2. Bum bum ba bum. Thank you, Christine. You made my day. Okay. Okay. Are the fine liners waterproof? They are. But you'll find out all about them when you come to tonight's event. So I'm going to probably exaggerate my Beethoven a bit. Give him like a really, look at that jaw. He's got like the jaw, like Kirk Douglas level jaw here. But that's, and also these very large eyes. Like, do you think he had this eye? I mean, these are almost like manga-sized eyes. But, it's okay. We like manga, sort of. I've compressed his head already. I can see already I'm going to make him into rather a square-headed one. Square-headed. But that's okay. I don't really care. It's his birthday. And, this is my gift to him, is to make him look wonky. So, but he looks very sort of serious, That's what you expect. You don't expect Beethoven to be light and fun. So Beethoven, he was deaf, as you guys have already mentioned. He was deaf, and he started turning deaf when he was in like 20. He's like this really famous pianist, because that's what he kind of was known for first. He was a performer, a piano. I was going to say piano player, but that's not really fair. But yes, he was a pianist, and then he began to compose. I think he composed some when he was actually quite young, like a little kid. But he was really best known initially, at least as a pianist, and then he went on to become deaf, and as a result, I think he stopped like playing in public and just was writing music. Now, it's pretty extraordinary when you think about it. Of course, I mean, it's sort of the cliche about Beethoven that he was deaf. I mean, every school child knows that about him. It's the one thing we do probably know about him. But, it's still pretty amazing. It's quite an accomplishment. There have been a few movies made about Beethoven's life. Gary Oldman, I think, was in one. They're all, I don't know, pretty awful, I think. Pretty terrible. Mozart got a really good movie made about him, although it was probably completely a fictional movie. And that movie, of course, is Amadeus, which I just love that movie. All right. Sorry, Ludwig. I've given you like a kind of a slightly tweaked out face, but that's okay. It makes you look more kind of grim and gruff, and that's okay. I don't mind that. It's my interpretation of Ludwig van that is most important. Let's give him some of that hair. I sort of imagine that he was a guy with a wig, but I guess that's sort of the previous generation. I guess at this point in the 19th century, they weren't in the wig business anymore the way they had been, in the late 18th century. When you think of all those guys with wigs, Beethoven was more kind of just a regular long-haired dude, and quite nice-looking hair. I mean, we don't know if this is an artist's depiction of his hair, or did he have really beautiful flowing locks like this? What shampoo did he use? It's fun to draw, whatever the reason. So, as I often whine, it's hard to find movies that are about artists that are really good movies. There are a small number of them, and we've probably talked about them before, but Beethoven, I mean, the Beethoven movies are always about like, oh my God, I'm going deaf. Oh my God, I'm deaf. What? I said I'm going deaf. I said I'm going. Oh, forget it. Can you imagine being a blind painter? Can you imagine being a tasteless chef? Yes, I can. There are tasteless chefs. Certainly chefs that behave tastelessly. We've seen a lot of that going on recently. Yes, a sad version of Beethoven. Is there any other version of Beethoven? I mean, Beethoven's not exactly he's not a joyous spirit. I mean, again, when you think of Mozart, and Mozart, I mean, he wrote much more chipper music on occasion. He also wrote beautifully sad music like the Requiem and various other things. But, think about the Magic Flutes or something like that. There's a lot of, Eine kleine Nachtmusik. There's a lot of beautiful, fun Mozart. But Beethoven, I mean, I guess there's beautiful stuff. Moonlight Sonata. I mean, certainly a lot of beautiful stuff, but not exactly cheery. You think of him as being sort of serious. So I think it's okay. Or at least this is how I see him, and that's why I've made him serious. That is my interpretation of the man. All right. I kind of like that. In fact, I like it so much that I'm going to take a picture of it because I'm now going to add some marker onto it, and I just want to preserve the stage of it. So, cha-ching, picture taken. Yeah. But now let's hit him up. Let's get some markers on there. Yes, serious. CW is correcting my interpretation of Beethoven. The variations are lighthearted pieces. Okay. Maybe I'll do a variation that is lighthearted. Maybe that'll be my next thing. How do you feel about the sound? My wife hates the sound. Cringes every time I do it. She's like, oh, God. Is it like nails on a blackboard? Do you have that sort of reaction to it? I don't. It does bother me. And one of the cool things about markers is the smell. You can get really high, dude. Thing about markers, you want to work light to dark. Definitely want to work light to dark. So that was, what was that? That was a blush. And now I'm going to use, another lighter one, but I'm going to just do it to add some bit of weight. I don't want to go too far, but I want to add a bit of molding, dimension. Starting to feel a little lightheaded from this, this marker. Yes. Nothing like huffing first thing in the morning. I wasn't really one of those teenagers who was trying to figure out ways of getting high. I had enough trouble with reality. See what's nice about them? Can you see here? Like, you see how it kind of starts to blend into each other? But if you keep it nice and wet, then you'll get that effect, where the colors start to blend into each other. And in fact, there is a special kind of marker. Where is it? Here, this one, it's called a blender. And that will help you, because basically it doesn't have any color to it. It's just alcohol. So it gets things nice and juicy, and then when it kind of reactivates them and blends them together. So that can be pretty helpful. Now, who's this guy? This is Pyroline. Pyroline. See, this is a brush. It's a really nice brush, I got to tell you. You can't. First of all, it's quieter. Doesn't make that squishy noise, but also it is just so soft and nice. I like this quiet, gentle feeling that it has. See, this also, the blender can also help you to fix something like that. Like I just went a little bit too hard with that brown, and the blender kind of helps you to, you're not really erasing it, but you're kind of just squishing it in there. It's a little bit like if you added some water to your watercolor and loosened it up a bit. So I think I'll go back to this one. It's a bit intense. So you keep building up the layers. Again, it's sort of like watercolor in that regard. You get nice flat colors really easily, like you would with gouache. But then also, if you keep building up your layers, you get much more subtlety. Markers is something I associate to some extent with making art when I was a teenager. That was really cool. I also associate it with when I was in advertising, maybe in the beginning of my career, like back in the 80s even. There were markers were what all the art directors would use to make their comps, which were like the layouts of an ad. But also we had this amazing group of artists who worked in the agency whose job was to do illustrations for our ads, for the ideas for ads, not for the final ads usually. And they always had these giant, like really cool sets of markers that I was super jealous of, that they had every marker that was made in like a giant thing, like 200 markers. That was very cool. All right, let's give him some eyes. What do you think? Oh, he has such big, beautiful brown eyes. Now I'm going to take this. This is this brown fine liner. Kind of cool. I've never had a brown fine liner before, but I like that. And then give him a little bit of a pupil. Not a student. He was a pupil of Haydn, I believe, but he himself may or may not have had pupils. I don't know. All right, so let's give him a bit of hair coloring. I think I violated my own decree and went dark first. I need to go light first. You can also use this gray on top of your, like I'll show you. So I could put my gray down here to just add a little bit of shadow on top there. And then go in with this one, slightly darker one, add a bit of variation in tone. I kind of like that sound. It's the sound of drawing, honestly. That's what I think of this as being. The sound of drawing. What kind of clothing should we give him? I don't know. I think he should have something a little bit jazzier than. No, that's too much. What do you think? Too much. Too much. I'm going to try this. Yes. See, this pigment marker is flaking out a bit. Maybe that's why they stopped making them, because it's a little flaky, see? Not so good. Aha, here we go. This is what I wanted. Much better. So this is a new fresh one. It's a Pro marker. It is. I don't really think of Winsor Newton as being a marker company, but you know, they do stuff well. And there's no reason to think that this wouldn't be good, and it is good. Except for that pigment marker. But they've expunged them, so. Another thing that I kind of like about markers is you're always like hunting around looking for the right marker. It's something that, it's again like a thing that I remember from when I was a teenager, you know? It was like, oh, where's that red one? I know it's in here somewhere. You know that, you know what I'm talking about? What can also be cool is to layer other media on top of this. You know, because you can do this with watercolor, where you use watercolor to lay down a basic tone that sits underneath, and then you go over it with colored pencils. So I think I might try that. Got these colored pencils here. Take one. Let's see how this works. So you could do cross hatching. This is an Inktense pencil, so I could also make this watercolor. I could run a brush over it, and the markers, because they're alcohol based, are not going to go anywhere. So, you know, I could do that. You know, and then you see the marker layer beneath the colored pencil, so it feels like a solid color, but you can get, you know, just a slightly kind of finer effect with the lines of a pencil. You could do the same thing with, well, not the same thing, but you could have take this fine liner, and you could do that too. This fine liner is a little too dark for me to actually go into his face like this, but then now I can do some cross hatching over my hatching. And it just is just giving me another tool to play with, to combine different media for different effects. Plus, you get to play with more toys, and you get to learn some new things. So I think that I like that effect, and I'm going to continue it. This is called Iron Blue, this pencil. And so I can add just a little bit of color in here besides just the gray. Just adds a bit of pizzazz. To build on the Beethoven metaphor, you are free to write a piano sonata or a marker sonata, or you could write a marker concerto. I don't know a huge amount about music, but from what I do know, a concerto is like a marker with orchestra. So you could think of your orchestra as being all of your other stuff in your toolkit. So you could say that the orchestra is made up of all the gear in your studio. Now, you want to be somewhat judicious. You don't want to suddenly be throwing everything at it, because it could become a cacophonous mess, but used judiciously, you can achieve more and more rich effects if you bring in other media. It's a rather pompous way of saying it, but maybe it's the Beethoven effect. A little bit of blue. I like blue shadows. So, and then his coat is definitely in need of something. Maybe his coat is in need of tweed. Yes, need of tweed. I do delight myself sometimes, don't I? There it is, tweed. Miraculous, huh? Each kind of art material seems to have a different sound. Now that I'm tuned into it, maybe somebody needs to write a symphony for markers, or maybe a quartet for markers, pencils, pencil sharpeners, and markers. All right, well, this is fun. I think I could. David says, as to smell, the watercolor markers don't have nearly as strong an odor since they're water-based rather than alcohol. True. I haven't actually been playing with the watercolor markers much, but here is one. This is one. Let me smell it. Now I have a green dot on my nose. Oh, it's very bright. Let me try. Here's a water brush. Wet it, and look. That marker turns into watercolor. Amazing. Super cool. So there, look. That's all green watercolor that's came out of that marker. But you also get the marker effect because it is also, you have a nib, and that's quite nice. So yeah, definitely something to play with. David is going to be on our panel tonight, and he is an expert in many things, but watercolor is certainly among them. And he's going to be talking about watercolor markers specifically. I think he's going to be our man with watercolor markers. I think that's true. All right, I'm going to keep working on this, for the next whatever. That was fun. I hope you enjoyed our little Beethoven medley. I'd love to see what you made Beethoven-wise. In fact, if you put hashtag SBS Draw With Me on a post that you place on Instagram or Facebook, I'll see it and collect it. Huh? And look who it is, another Beethoven lover. Twiglet! Twiglet, she can smell the markers. Yeah, they're making you kind of wheeze a little bit. Twiglet's been going through a growth spurt. She's becoming enormous. Thank you. Yes, yesterday she was extremely poorly behaved. But yes, she is very big. All right, well, thank you very much. Those of you who are in Spark, I will see you at the after party in about 15 minutes, and we'll continue and we'll listen to some Beethoven together. And I'll see the rest of you next week. No, I won't see you next week. It's Christmas Eve. Yes, I'm going to finally take a day off. We had a workshop last weekend, and so I've basically been working 7 days a week now for quite a while. So, being Bob Cratchit, I'm going to be taking off Christmas Eve, so I won't see you next Thursday, alas. I hope that won't prevent you from drawing. Well, I'll probably be drawing too, but I hope you have a very nice Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. If you don't, I hope you have a very nice Thursday and Friday. And then there's New Year's Eve. Will we be doing a show on New Year's Eve? I don't know, probably. We'll see. I don't really have any big plans for New Year's Eve. Was going to go to Times Square, but I haven't had the vaccine yet. So as soon as I do, believe me, I'll be packing it in there with the hordes. Can't wait to rub elbows with millions of non-infectious people. That's another story. But hopefully you will spend the next 2 weeks enjoying yourself, eating, drinking to excess. I hope that you get all the presents that you wanted. And I hope that you make some New Year's resolutions. Don't bother keeping them, but just do make them. And, I'm going to write probably about this year and my thoughts about it as part of my next essay. So I might not, though. I'm not locking myself. I'm not boxing myself into a corner in a theme. We'll see what happens. CW's drinking already. Excellent. You don't know what's in this cup. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me. Thanks for drawing Beethoven. Please share your drawings with me, and I will see you at some point. Subscribe to this channel, and that way you'll know when I come back. Maybe I'll pop up in the middle of the week. Who knows? I do all kinds of crazy things, but this was one of them. Drawing Beethoven from a death mask, a live mask, a digital sculpture. Go and check out that guy. He's got a great Instagram feed. See you later.